Hello and welcome back to my channel. For those of you that have visited before, and thanks for viewing for those of you that are here for the first time. So today we're going to be doing some oxtail. We're going to show you our ingredients and we'll get started. Okay, so today for our ingredients for our oxtail that we're going to do, I'm going to, I guess, label this Jamaican slash African or African slash Jamaica. Oxtail. We have our oxtails. We have some chicken broth. We have our oxtails, Jamaican oxtail seasoning. We've got some allspice. We've got black pepper. We've got salt, onion, ginger, garlic. I've got some habaneros. I've got tomato paste, some actual tomatoes, canned tomatoes. We've got our browning, which we always need for whenever we're doing Jamaican recipes. And we've got we got some soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, chicken cubes. We've got some thyme, curry powder, bay leaves, cooking oil, and some anise seed. Part of this is basically for our African stew that we're doing, and the other part is seasoning for the meat. Let me see if I can kind of break that down. So basically, the broth, oxtail seasonings, allspice, black pepper, salt, onion, the garlic, ginger, and some of the habaneros is going into well, let me finish this. Our Worcestershire soy sauce browning, right? That's going into our seasonings for our meat. We're going to season our meat, let it set overnight, and we'll brown it and put it in, cover it with some chicken broth, and let that cook until it's tender. And then, and the rest of the ingredients you see is for the African stew that I'm making. That right there will also have onion, ginger, garlic, habaneros, the tomatoes, maybe tomato paste, anise, the oil, bay leaves, curry powder, thyme, and our Maggi cubes. That's the ingredients to make our African stew. So it's a tomato-based red stew. That being said, we're gonna get our oxtail cleaned, and we're gonna come back and get our seasonings, spices ready, and we'll come back and show you how we season our oxtail. All right, so we got our oxtail cleaning in our pan here, so we're gonna just kind of hit it with some seasonings and get them ready to sit overnight. No method to the madness. I just start whatever I pick up first, and I'm gonna kind of heavily seasoned. It seems like heavily seasoned because I've kind of got my oxtail. They're not laying all flat, so I'm going to have to move them around and rub all the spices in. So that's why you see me kind of, seems like putting a lot on it, but it's not really, because like I said, I've got to get them all mixed up. So that was the oxtail seasoning we went with. A little allspice, some salt, just in there and get everything mixed up, and we'll be good to go. I'm gonna go black pepper, Also, I should say I made a paste out of my onion, garlic, and ginger. You don't have to, but that's something I learned from my wife with the African seasonings. You can just substitute that. I'm gonna go with some thyme. You can just substitute that and go with onion powder, garlic powder, and ginger powder, right? But I went with fresh ginger, onion, and garlic, and that one habanero pepper, and added some anise to that, and I blended it, and that's the paste that we're gonna put on once I get everything kind of mixed up here. This is our Worcestershire sauce. Some soy sauce. Now, we want to get this mixed up before we add our paste to it, right? So let's make sure all the seasoning it gets on all of them. You want to cover them, make sure they're all covered, all sides are covered with the spices. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna work that in. Make sure this is, didn't want that to happen. But my counter is clean. I always keep that clean. Wash it down before I start my cooking process. Just because. Okay. That looks pretty good. I think I've got all of them pretty much covered there. Just do a check, make sure, because I've got some small pieces also in here. The packs that I get in the store here, I mean, it ranges from large pieces all the way down to these little small pieces. So it's a trip when you're trying to cook them, because the small pieces definitely cook up first pretty fast. Get our paste on here. Get those tossed in the paste. I said again, that's just a mixture of onion, ginger, garlic, and some anise seeds seasoning. That's it, right? Okay, I think we've got those covered pretty well. Now we're just going to cover our pan here and let these marinate overnight. And we'll be ready to come back and put those in the pot. Well, before we put them in the pot, we're going to put browning on them, the browning seasoning, seasoning rather, and put those in the skillet. I think I'm going to brown mine first. They don't have much fat on them. And I have had them to where if they got pretty much a lot of fat, you can kind of, if you time it right, it works out fine. I cook mine in a pressure cooker, and you cover them with your chicken broth, right? And you let them cook down. It takes about an hour and a half, 2 hours probably for them to tenderize. But if you time it right, well, you can actually cook them, and if they get tender, basically pour the water off of it, put them back in and turn them back on if they have a lot of fat on them, right? And they'll actually kind of brown themselves or start to fry in the pot while they're cooking like that, and you can kind of skip the step of browning, but I don't trust it too well, so I'm going to brown mine first and then put them in the pot and let them tenderize. While we're waiting on that, we'll make our African stew, tomato-based stew I was talking about. We'll show you how we do that. And then it's just a matter of once the stew is cooked, the oxtails are cooked, mix everything together, and we're done. But we're going to let these sit overnight, and we'll come back and get them cooking. So, all right, so we're back now. We're ready for our to come in and cook our, well, brown our oxtail before we put them in the pot to let them boil and tenderize, right? And just like I was saying, whenever we season our oxtail, so when we come back to get ready to cook them, we'll hit them with some browning sauce, browning seasoning, and then we'll get them in our skillet and start browning them. Actually, yeah, browning, it basically is giving a sear or brown them, and we'll go from there. So we're going to get this worked in, and we'll come back and start browning them. Alrighty, so we've got those seasoned well, and now we're actually going to start our browning process here. We want to try to get them browned on all sides before we actually put them into our pot, all right? So that's what we're doing now. I'm going to put them in there and just kind of let them, at least on the large sides, let those brown for probably about 3 minutes. And then we can move on, like I said, and pull these out and get them in our pot and get them to boiling. And we will be well on our way. So we're going to get these browned, and we'll come back and show you what they look like and get them in the pot. Okay, so this first batch here is ready. So as you can see, we brown them. Basically, we get all sides some browning on it, and we get those in the pot. And what we're going to do is get the remaining of them browned and get those in the pot. Then we'll add our chicken broth and get this to cooking. It's going to take a couple hours for them to tenderize. I decided against cooking it in my pressure cooker because of this bigger pot that I got, it will allow me to kind of let them kind of lay all of them on kind of like flat on the surface part and not have to worry about the ones on the bottom and the ones on the top, right? So this is what I'm going to do today. So we're going to get these browned, and we will come back and show you what we're going to do once we get all of them in the pot. Okay, so we've got our remaining of our oxtails brown. So now this last part here What we're gonna do is the pan that we had our oxtail seasoning in, right? We're gonna add some about a cup of liquid to that. Mix that around. Deglaze our skillet here a little bit. Got that done. Get that into our pot. Turn this off. Now the next thing is basically covering them with our liquid and getting these on the stove and let those start the boiling process. Then we're going to come back and make our stew that we're going to actually once that we're actually going to put the finished oxtail in, right? So once we get to that point, we'll come back and show you that. Well, we're gonna show you how to make the stew. It's in one of my other videos, but we're gonna go through it again. We'll be right back. Alrighty, so like I was saying, we got our oxtail on the stove cooking. The next thing we're gonna do is start our stew, our African stew, right? So what you see here is chopped up. I've got tomatoes, garlic, onion, and some ginger, right? So we're gonna get this blended. And I've got to add in some more tomatoes, but we're going to get this started blended first and add the remaining in. Then we'll fry them. I said fry because we're going to start off with some oil in the bottom of our pan. When oil heats up, then you add your blended vegetables here. And then we just kind of like let that cook down and thicken, right? So it's going to take a minute to get to where we're trying to go to. But we're gonna get there. So just you'll see, work with me, and you'll see the process. I'm gonna get these blended and get our oil started, and then we're gonna mix everything together. All right, guys. So we're back. We've got our blend here with our tomatoes, onion, garlic, and ginger, and our one habanero pepper, right? So we've got our oil on. I'm using it's called palm oil or red oil. We had some here today, so I'm using that, but you can substitute that with any of your favorite oil, right? So you can see it's starting to smoke a little bit, so we're going to add some of this in and get this started. And this is what we call frying our tomatoes and our stew, basically. We want to let it start to cook in oil, and we'll have to kind of like keep our eye on it and stir it every so often because it does have a tendency to stick on you, right? Even though you've got that oil in there on the bottom, or that oil, because the oil will actually rise to the top during this cooking process. So yeah, we're gonna be here for a minute standing up, stirring this pot kind of continuously. You get breaks in between, but it's all good. It's part of cooking, right? So we got that in there. Just mixed around a little. Now we're going to add our spice. Add the spices. Now sometimes I'll wait a little bit later until it actually started to fry in there. But this is our chicken Maggi cubes. or chicken bouillon cubes. I'm gonna probably go with 2 of those. Okay. Normal seasonings are a little black pepper. Now also, we will put this in there like this right here to start off. But as the cooking process goes and we get closer to the end, we will check it out, taste it, and see if we need to add anything else to it, right? Just like with anything else. You don't want to overdo it, and like I said, you can always add to it, so can't take away from it. So we've got the chicken cubes, we've got our salt and pepper. We're going to go with a couple of bay leaves. I added in 1 habanero, but it may not be enough to my liking. We kind of like spicy food, so I'm going to add in some crushed red pepper. And you can also add, and I may do it also, some cayenne pepper also. Come in with some curry powder. And a bit of thyme, right? Like I say, we'll come back and check on this once we get closer to being finished and check and see if we need to add anything to this as far as the spices is concerned. And also, say I we'll see what it looks like during the cooking process, but we may add a little tomato paste in there. But like I said, that's down the road, and we'll see what it looks like when we get there. Because we want this, like I said, to kind of thicken up. I like mine fairly thick because generally a stew is eaten with rice or some type of starch like that. So you want it kind of thick so it doesn't just pour over the rice and the rice, soaks it up. You want it to be kind of thick so everything just kind of sits there and you can kind of mix it together while you're eating it, right? That being said, we're going to let this do what it do, and we will come back and check on it from time to time, and when we get to the point where we want it, we'll come back and show you, right? Okay guys, so after about, I would say 2 hours and 45 minutes of boiling with our oxtail, they're tender now, and we've got our stew here, as you can see it. It is ready. Nice one, right? So now it's just a matter of getting our oxtails out of the pot. Just over here a little bit closer so I don't make a mess. Those drain. And basically add them in. You can see the meat is kind of falling off the bones there. So those are tender, right? You can see the darkness or where we browned them earlier before we started boiling them. That's what we want. Nice, tender oxtail. Get it in our sauce here, our stew. And that's it, folks. That is it. So, with that, we're going to wrap this one up and move on to the next one. How about that? Alrighty, so we get this mixed in together. And we have us a pot. of Jamaican / African oxtails. Try it out. Let me know what you think about it. Nice. So, oxtails, anyone? Here's our finished oxtail, and we're serving this with rice. Oxtail because we have the red African sauce on that, and that's our oxtail, people. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.